gonna be good. It's worth it. Okay, I promise you. And if you can, let me just close the back door.
Is this the page where you post stuff?
No.
I'm surprised and dismayed that that's so popular. If you type in science industry business.
Ari. Ari's the man at the library. You need anything, ask Ari. Super awesome. Are you still doing the LinkedIn pictures?
Yeah, every now and then I do headshots for people for their LinkedIn.
Yes. He is the man. Okay, so everybody, close your eyes. All right, take a big inhale. Big exhale. And now a big inhale. Big exhale. Another big inhale. Expand your belly, expand your lungs. And just let it out. And then just some regular breaths with your eyes closed. You just want to let the day drip off of you. Leave everything outside this room. So whatever job situation, whatever non-job situation, whatever family drama, whatever world drama, leave it all outside of the room. Take another breath. Just relax and just get settled into your body. Feel your feet on the ground. Maybe just stretch your neck a little bit. Breath or two. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Have a seat. Thank you. Welcome. Much better, right? So I always say, if you take nothing else away from my talk this evening, it's to remember to breathe, okay? Because you see the difference that made. It didn't take you a lot of time, didn't take you a lot of energy, and do you feel the difference? So it's really important to, throughout the day, to connect with yourself, and breath is a great way to do it, especially when you're running around the city. If you're in, how many people are in a job search situation? So about half. So, as you're just dealing with the stress of life and the fast pace that we are now in, it's just, you just gotta remember to breathe. We forget. And I also like to recommend to people in the morning. So in the morning, when you get up, before you do anything else, take 15 minutes. If you can't do 15 minutes, take 10 minutes. If you can't do 10 minutes, do 5 minutes. Breathe, check in with yourself, maybe have your cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and just kind of connect with yourself. Maybe you have some nice music in the background, maybe you have a prayer or a mantra or an affirmation, just something so that you are in your body before you go run off into your day, right? Before you get distracted and pulled in every which direction, you want to be in control of your time and your energy. So you really want to ground yourself, and then this way you can be intentional about your day, and it's a great practice. And I'm telling you, if you do that, life will change. And if you really want to kick it up, in the evening, when you're transitioning from the day to the evening, you come home. What I like to do is lay on the floor, on my back, with my feet up. And again, you just kind of let the day kind of roll off of you, and it's just another way to check in with yourself, another time to check in with yourself and process whatever happened during the day. Just kind of again, just get in your body, right? Because we're so in our heads throughout the day, no matter what we're doing. And so, I do a lot of things that I just do because they feel good, or they work for me, and then I find out there's some science. And there is some science I found out about when you lay on your back like that, it adjusts your nervous system. So there is some science behind it. You can look it up. But it's really important. So if you can have those two anchors to your day, then you can be better in touch with what you're thinking and what you're feeling at any particular time, which I find people are not usually these days because we have so many outside influences telling us what to think, telling us what to believe. And so I just wanted to remind you that those anchors are, exactly what it says, anchors. To yourself, to the day, to your life. So really, I start every talk with that because I think that it's a great practice to get into. And if you can't do 15 minutes, again, do start with 5 minutes. So I really, really want to suggest that. I also want to just double check, we're Facebook Living, and you're just going to do clips, correct? Don't do a whole thing. Just do clips. Yeah. Because the last time I had someone doing this, they did the whole thing. It was a nightmare.
No.
So, okay. But I know it's good. So congratulations, first of all, because you're sitting here right now. Like, hello, like there's a gazillion other things that you could be doing tonight, and it's a crappy sort of weather all night as well. And the fact that you came here really says a lot. So first of all, thank you for honoring me, because I made it here. I want to give you what I can. But the fact that you guys are here means that you're ready to make a shift, right? To connect with yourself in a different way, to get a different perspective about your life, and to make it better, right? So I think now's a really good time to do it, right? I can't believe it's August already. This summer's like crazy. So August is a great time. Things are a little bit chiller, kind of. Oh, the world's a little crazy at the moment. And July, if you guys had like a really crazy July, really intense July, lots of changes, lots of stuff, like you're not alone. July was kind of rough, you had 2 eclipses and some other things. So as the dust starts to settle and things get a little bit quiet in August before we start the hustle and bustle of fall, it's a good time to think about this stuff and to start implementing some new habits for yourself, so that you prepare yourself going forward. So in case you didn't notice, or in case you haven't experienced it, there's a lot of changes happening in the world. Like whole industries, just the way we operate. Usually I have my little prop here that Kurt is now holding, but the devices that we carry around, yes, there you go, are changing us in ways that I think we still haven't even begun to fathom. And it's certainly changing the future of work and how we live our lives, and it's going to get even more transformative. So with AI, with automation of even more types of jobs, it's going to really force us to think about how we live, how we earn a living, what the heck are we doing here? So I think that the more you can get a head start on creating that internal sense of security, what I always talk about is that, especially now, there is no security. If you can tell me where there's some security in terms of, let's say, jobs or industries, so traditional things like banking or hospital, school, like all of these things are changing. There's certainly things like publishing and journalism, and I mean, everything is changing. Jobs that, they just don't exist anymore. Like that industry doesn't exist anymore. So, and if you think about even just like journalism, it's not just the journalists, right? It's who's printing the newspapers. It's who's delivering the newspapers. It's who's driving the trucks to the, to the print, that where they're printed. I mean, there's like swaths of things that are changing in really huge ways. And so, we're in the midst of this. We're in the midst of another sort of industrial revolution. And so, no one knows how it's going to turn out. Really, no one knows how it's going to turn out. And so, I think that the best thing that you can do, and this would always be a rule of thumb, but certainly now more than ever, is to create that security in and of yourself so that you know who you are, you know what you're doing, why you're doing it at any particular moment. You might not know what you're doing a year from now or 5 years from now, but if you know what's right for you right now, you just have to trust that the next thing will come and the next thing will come, the next thing will come, because things are changing so rapidly. So it's kind of like surfing, right? You want to get that balance and center in yourself and then kind of be able to surf the changes, to surf the wave of change that's coming. So that's what this talk is about, is helping you get that internal sense of security and balance and get a good foundation for yourself so that no matter what is going on the outside, externally, that you have a good foundation in of yourself. So does that sound good to you guys? Yeah. So, yeah, and so, I mean, I'm just gonna, this is not a political plug per se, but if you guys have been watching Andrew Yang, who's one of the Democratic candidates, if you're interested in understanding about the future of AI and automation and how that's gonna affect the economy, I would highly recommend going on YouTube and just Googling his name, and he's been talking about this, and P.S. I am a Yang Gang person, but because I think he's really speaking to what's going on, and so, but regardless of whatever political persuasion or who you are supporting, it's worth listening to him because he's the only person talking about this, and he explains it really well. And so the stuff that, I have 9 stepping stones, I think. Oh my God, I looked at this something a while. Let me double check. Yes, I believe it's 9. And yes, so most of them are common sense, right? But it's just stuff that we don't think about, or maybe you haven't put together in this way. So hopefully they will spark some reminders for yourself, or maybe think about something in a different way, and we'll go through them. And if you have, we're a very small group here, so feel free to chime in whenever you need to. So, this is basically, my suggestions for succeeding in these times, and we're living in very consequential times, and life is really an inside job. So if you can really get the inside good, like I said, you can deal with whatever the outside changes are. So that's where we're gonna focus on. So, okay, so I said there's 9. So the first one is, take spell that right? Did I spell that right? Responsibility. All right. Take responsibility. What does that mean? Well, you gotta take responsibility. You actually can't blame anyone for anything. And that's kind of a hard pill to swallow for most people, but it's also really empowering, right? So whatever your job situation is, whatever your family situation, whatever the economy is doing, whatever is going on, you need to get real with yourself. So I want you to be super, super honest with yourself. So especially, if, let's say, you recently lost a job, or not so recently lost a job. If you really are honest with yourself, you probably didn't want to stay in that job anyway, right? So I see nods and laughing. Okay, you probably shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? Or it was good at one point, but it kind of went sour, and you were kind of like overdue to leave, but you were too scared, you're too lazy to actually make the change, and so eventually the universe kind of did it for you. So yeah, so you gotta kind of take responsibility for that, okay? And that's good news, because that means you can then take responsibility and empower yourself to make the changes that you need. You're not a victim, right? So, you want to, and here's the thing too, is, and it's a cliched saying, but it's so true, you choose how you react to a situation also. So again, no matter what the external thing is, you can choose how to react to it. I was on the subway coming here, and I was sweaty, and I got into a car that had no air conditioning. I was very upset about that. But I was like, I can allow myself to get upset and ruin my mood and get all frustrated, or I could choose not to get upset and just be patient and know it's going to be one more subway stop, I'll survive, right? But that's really a choice. Like, it sounds very simple and stupid, but I could have suffered for 10 minutes, right? Or I could have just kept myself kind of like chill for 10 minutes. That was a choice that I made. And, you know, again, with the I do want to say insanity that we're dealing with in the world, people are on very short fuses, right? People are really not in control of themselves, not having an internal calm, peaceful balance that they're bringing with themselves every place. And so people are very quick to react, and often in not very positive ways, right? Or you're quick to make assumptions, right? Or you're quick to react, or and not your highest best self. So we each have to take responsibility. So it's not only about taking responsibility for our own lives and our own choices, but it's also about taking responsibility for bringing peace and balance and harmony to wherever we're at. No politician is going to do that for us, right? Clearly they can set an example or not set an example, but no politician is going to do that for us, right? So we each have to take responsibility to bring peace, harmony, balance, justice, positivity to wherever we're at. And that is a choice. That is a choice. So again, it's taking responsibility that you actually have that choice. That's empowering. And I think we forget it. We forget it, and also because of social media and mass media and all of that, you get swept up into these mob mentalities or what the narrative that they're trying to sort of regurgitate over and over again. But this is why those anchors that I talked about in the morning, why they're so important. Because you got to get back control of your own mind, right? So what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What kind of boundaries do you need to create to keep that negative stuff out, right? Or to review what kind of choices you've made or can make in any particular situation. And it's like, and I feel myself, talking extra slow this evening because I feel like that's what we need to do. I feel like I just got to slow everybody down. So sorry, Facebook Live people, but I feel like I'm extra in slow motion today, and I think that there's a reason for that. I think there's a reason for that. We have to slow down. We have to just take a minute and really see what the heck's going on, and what are these feelings, or remember, humans are contagious beings. So think about it. When you're in your workspace or in your family or at home, and someone's in a great mood, right? So right? They're happy. Maybe they had a great day at work, or they're just overall happy. And remember how that feels when that person comes into the room, right? So just envision that when someone's in a good space, how that changes the energy. And then conversely, think about it when some toxic person, some miserable person, some complaining person, some bad attitude person, some angry person, some sad or really depressed person comes into your space or comes into a situation, and how we're all affected by that. Would you agree?
Yes.
Right? So we're contagious beings. And so so there's the taking the responsibility for the energy that you bring into the room or what you contribute to a situation. And then there's also being mindful and taking responsibility for what you're taking on and absorbing. Right? So a lot of times, and especially if you're a sensitive person, right? If you're a sensitive person, if you're an empathetic person, if you're a really caring person, you might be feeling other people's stuff, right? Or you might be absorbing other people's energy. And so again, this is why it's so important to do those anchors that I mentioned, so that you can differentiate. Wait, am I feeling this? Or is this stuff that I kind of picked up that's just been around me and just kind of seeped in? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really, you have to, it's so easy just to get swept up in everything. And so, I think my main message right now, or I feel like this is my main message today, is to take back control of your energy and your time. It's the most important, and your mind. It's the most important thing that we can do right now. right, so we can always control what happens, but you control how you respond. Like, are you gonna be a peacemaker, or are you gonna be a troublemaker? Right, you can make that choice in any situation. That's a good little mantra. Are you gonna be a peacemaker or a troublemaker in the situation, right? You can start a fight, you know, like, and how important, if you're gonna start a fight, so it's, and you also have to like remember, is this confrontation worth it? Is this important? Because sometimes it is. So I don't want to just say, oh, you should never stand up for yourself, or you should never be assertive, or you should never, stand up for somebody else. So, but again, it's that differentiating. Like, am I just caught in this pattern of just this cycle of just this reaction that I always have to this person or to this situation? Or can I just let this go? Can I flip the script? And can I do something that I normally wouldn't do? So to think about these situations. And also, I'm talking about taking responsibility for your own life. The talk is called Stepping Stones for Success. And so, first of all, you need to decide for yourself what's success. Like when we're talking about external success, maybe you do have some specific goal in mind in terms of a career or a job or a specific lifestyle. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's really what you want, if you think that's going to make you happy, great. Maybe it's your idea of success is if you're struggling with some sort of addiction or some other kind of relationship pattern or something like that. Maybe success is overcoming that. So for you, like really, what's your definition of success, of prosperity and success? And it's really going to be different for everyone because we all have different issues that we deal with, right? Maybe for someone it's a lifelong goal of losing a certain amount of weight and being healthy for once, right? Maybe it's for someone, it's, creating a best-selling book. Maybe for someone it's falling in love, like and really having a great relationship. Maybe it's, starting a business, and having obviously the business be successful. But like for every single person in here, you guys are completely unique. So you all are a combination of a unique characteristics, passions, talents, skills, abilities, culture. I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of amazing. Like, no one in here is exactly the same. Like, so you all, the way I always frame this in my Who Are You, What Are You Supposed to Be Doing with Your Life talk is that, you all have a job to do because no one else can do what you do. And like, that's mind-blowing when you think about it. No one has your combination of stuff. And so, your job is really to figure out what that job is. And, and aligning yourself, and that could be a career thing, it could be an actual job, or it could be your job supports you doing whatever your job is, right? But, I think, just understanding that you are a unique being, you are unique. And so what's right for you might not be right for your parents, might not be right for your spouse, right? Might not be right for your peer group, even. So, it's again taking that responsibility for understanding what's going to make you happy, right? What's going to make you happy? How are you going to feel like you've accomplished something for you? And we're going to get to the don't compare thing later on, but this is why again it's important to spend that quality time with yourself, thinking about these things. And also, remember that your success, is other success and vice versa. So, in other words, like I said, we all have our sphere of influence, right? And so, if we all take responsibility to figure out who we are and what we're supposed to be doing with our lives and keep ourselves as chill as possible, look, we all have our moments. But, if we all do that, then we're contributing to world peace. Think about how much more pleasant your subway ride would be. Think about how much less divorce there would be. Think about how much less crime there would be. Okay, so if we all took that responsibility, and also like whatever the thing that calls to you, whatever is that desire in you, it's there for a reason, and you have to trust it, so it's not selfish to pursue it. It's not selfish to pursue because it's there for a reason, and someone's going to benefit from your desire. So, I work with, I've worked with in the past a lot of women who come from a very Catholic background, and they want to help people, and but their secret passion is like fashion, and so they couldn't reconcile like doing good in the world with being in fashion. And I would say to that, as I've said many times to those of you who've heard me, is I don't see anyone naked in here. Okay? I don't see anyone naked in here. I think about when you go to an interview or you have a nice occasion, what our clothes are an expression of ourselves. They're functional, certainly, well, it's hot out, so we can all be naked and be fine, but, in January, I like my parka and my hat and my gloves, and, and so someone's got to design these things, someone's got to manufacture them, someone's got to get them and sell them, and all these things. So there's good and bad in every industry, and there's crappy people and, horrible, cultures in every field. But if that's your passion, someone's going to benefit from it. Someone's going to wear your outfit and feel great in it, right? And by wearing that outfit, they're going to do well in their interview, or they're going to have a great day to marry that person, or, they're just going to, stand in front of a group of people and present themselves, right? So there's nothing that's too little or too small. Yeah. So, and also just to understand that, whatever it is taking responsibility, you have to understand that, like, it takes work to do anything. And I think we forget, we live in an instant society where everything seems like it happens like this, right? So, Twitter, Insta, microwave, everything's instant. And the fact of the matter is that life doesn't work that way. Nature, it's a process, right? The acorn doesn't go to the oak tree overnight. It's a process. And it's going to look and feel different along the way. And so you have to be patient and be persistent, right? And understand that there's a process at work. There is no such thing as overnight success. Again, all these things are cliches and common sense. I'm not really telling you anything new tonight, but these are reminders that I feel like we desperately need. I think Lady Gaga gave a great speech when she won the Oscar. She won an Oscar for the song, right? And she's like, this took work. It's work. There's no such thing as overnight success. So anything that's worth anything is gonna take effort and time and energy and dedication and passion, persistence. And I think we're really fooled these days in thinking that things are easy. And it's not even, I don't even really like to use the word easy, because even the things that you do, like if you're dedicating yourself to something and it's hard, it's a different feeling. Like, it's always going to be stressful and there's going to be challenges, but at least it's worthwhile, right? Because there are things that you want to be doing. So, again, that's why, you can choose those things. You can choose how you want to use your time and your energy. Your time and your energy is your most precious resource. It's your most precious resource. So take responsibility for how you use your time and your energy. I'm very serious tonight. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. Okay. So, questions? I'll lighten it up. Okay. So, number 2. Okay. So, again, Plato, I guess it is, know thyself. It's an age-old adage, and but it's amazing how many people don't know themselves. So we still need to remind ourselves. And this is why what I was saying before is that we're all unique beings, and so you have to figure out what makes you unique. What is your special sauce that you're bringing to whatever situation that you're in, because you have it. And the more that you have that self-awareness of knowing what you're good at, what you're not good at, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, then you can ask for help, you can communicate your needs, you can go after things much more accurately, instead of feeling like you gotta try to fit, be a square peg trying to fit yourself into a round hole. No, then just go find the square hole. Don't try to be something that you're not. Like, what is Gary Vee says, don't be an elephant if you're a penguin, or don't be a giraffe if you're a penguin. Like if you're just know who you are. And, and for instance, like, in like a job situation, if you were in sales your whole life and somehow you got into sales, but really at the end of the day you hate people, probably not the right thing for you. But also, conversely, if you're chatty Cathy, if you love people, but all you're doing all day long is data entry, or by yourself all day and not interacting with anyone, bad fit. Know yourself. Know what works for you. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? You're a detail-oriented person? Are you a more physical person? Are you a more mental person? What gets you excited? What gets you juiced up? What do you lose track of time doing? What do you like to do in your free time? What kind of movies do you like to go to? If you went to movies by yourself. So what I like to say is, how do you get to know yourself? Well, if you wanted to get to know another person, you would date them, right? So date yourself, okay? And dating yourself means spending quality time with yourself. It doesn't mean, having a bottle of wine and eating, Doritos on your couch, like binge watching Real Housewives. We need to do that sometimes maybe, but that's not quality time. That's not what I'm telling you. All right, so now the weather's nice, so go to the beach, go to the park, journal. How many in here journal? Oh, good, a few of you, good. So journaling is a great way to connect with yourself and process your thoughts and feelings and kind of get to know what's going on with you. So you want to just, cultivate that relationship with yourself, again, so that you know what's right for you. What's right for you, what are you thinking, what are you feeling, what do you want at this particular moment, P.S. Because what's right for you in this moment and what you want at this moment, you might not want that 6 months from now. And that's okay. That's okay. So, we're constantly evolving and changing, and we're going through different cycles. And so the more you're in touch with yourself at any particular moment, the better decisions you can make for yourself. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in one of the other steps. But so once you sort of spend this time getting to know yourself, and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of different than how I thought I was, or how other people thought I was, or how my family thought I was. And so then it takes some courage, right? It takes some courage to really be who you are. It takes a lot of courage, especially if who you've discovered yourself to be is quite different from how you've been raised, or the culture that you're living in, or the city that you're in, or your gender, or race, or ethnicity. Like, maybe you're just different, and okay, so you gotta embrace that. And that means, perhaps being rejected or having some pushback from the people around you, but you have to understand that at the end of the day, you need to do you, right? You need to do you, be who you are, do you, understand that, and trust that when you're yourself, that's when all the best outcomes are gonna come. Even though it might not seem that way maybe immediately, but, think about people that you know. I mean, or people sort of that, in the public eye, but people who are really comfortable in their own skin, right? Who are really comfortable in their own skin, who know who they are. First of all, there's an effortlessness and an ease to them, right? And there's also a beauty to them, regardless of what they look like. But people who really are connected to themselves, know themselves, accept themselves, right? So self-acceptance, self-love, huge. So people who are like that, just, pay attention now as you go through life and kind of like try to observe. Not a lot of examples out there, unfortunately. But again, whether in your immediate life or in public life, notice and see the difference. Oh, that person knows who they are. That person's comfortable in their skin. That person loves themselves. And try to, we need examples. We need examples. So recognize it because it'll help. I think it'll help you. Right, yeah. So, yeah, and I do another talk. You can look on my YouTube, I do an authentic brand. I do a whole talk about this, authentic branding, letting the real you shine in any situation. It takes so much energy also not to be yourself. Think about that. Remember I said your time and your energy is your most precious resource? So think about the energy it takes to not be yourself. Too much energy, right? Fronting, masks, pretending. And you probably, a lot of people, you might not even realize you're doing it. You might not even realize you're doing it. So hopefully today I'm sort of like, waking you up to like pay attention. Like, is this really who I am, or this is just who I've sort of formatted myself to be for some reason. So it's really interesting once you start to do that. Oh, and so I have a great quote about this also. Is Deepak Chopra. You guys all know Deepak Chopra, right? So he was on Conan one time, and he had just been to Las Vegas. And Conan's like, Deepak, you were in Las Vegas. Oh, that must have been fun. Da, da, da. And Deepak, in his most serious Deepakness, he's like, it was wonderful. It's the most spiritual place on the planet. And Conan's like, thinking it's a joke and everything. And Deepak Chopra, he's like, it does not pretend to be anything that it is not. So therefore, it's the most spiritual place on the planet. So Las Vegas does not pretend to be anything that it's not. Las Vegas knows who it is, okay? So Deepak Chopra says it's the most spiritual place on the planet. I know, I love that. So, yeah. So let's see, we got number 3. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this. Stay in pain. So that's huge, okay? So, comparison is the thief of joy. Is, I think, a Theodore Roosevelt quote. Don't compare. Remember what we said? Each of you has your own unique combination of characteristics, attachment styles, skills, abilities, experiences, desires, what you consider success. So you cannot compare yourself to anybody because you're your own, you gotta do your own thing. So you can think of it as like stay in your own lane, stay in your own movie, right? You're the director, producer, star of your own movie, right? Stay in your own movie. Someone else has got their own movie going on, okay? And they're in different plot points in their movie. And you don't know, they could be having a highlight plot point, right? But you don't know the crap that they went through to get to that high point. So you have to really just, and I know this is so hard, especially with social media, man. It makes it really hard. I get suckered in myself. But pay attention to how you feel when you're looking at other people and see, are you comparing yourself? Are you measuring yourself against someone else's life or situation? Don't do it, okay? This is where you gotta take responsibility and not suffer. Because you will suffer when you do that. But you've all got your own gig. So a great way of thinking about it instead is compare yourself to your yesterday, not someone else's today. That's a Jordan Peterson quote. It's not my quote. It's good. I won't,
I'm sorry, who's quote?
Jordan Peterson. So compare yourself, and that has helped me so much once I heard that. Compare, because you know what's good for you, right? You know, like, something so stupid. I'm trying to think of an example, like, I have food, everybody's got issues, right? So like, not eating when I had the opportunity to eat more food, and I didn't eat the more food, like that sounds silly to someone who like doesn't like food. I don't understand that, but There are people who don't care so much about food, but if I have the opportunity to eat this delicious food and I say no, for me, that was a big deal. For someone else, it's like they don't even think twice about it. Do you see what I'm saying? So like, know what's a big deal for you. What's the big deal for you? What, I'm trying to think of another example, but like, you know, so it's again, like, oh, I know. So I have some clutter issues, right? This is an issue for a lot of people. And, you know, like, for some people, they can't wait to throw things away. For me, I have some issues throwing some things away. So, you know, for me, you know, I finally, you know, got through a section of boxes and papers and crap. Like, it was a big deal for me to finally get through this stuff. A really big deal. Stuff that I needed to go through for years. For another person, it would be like, they would have gotten rid of that stuff, you know, in a day, once they decided they were going to get rid of it. So this is why it's important to know yourself and, you know, so know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know the things that you're working on, know where and how you're evolving. Because it's going to be different than your friend or your family. And so don't compare yourself at all. It's a futile exercise. And the Bhagavad Gita has a great saying. They said, it is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live in imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. It is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live in imitation of somebody else's life with perfection. So again, just do you. You've got your own path, you've got your own lessons to learn, you've got your own issues to heal. Trying to be like somebody else's life is just not going to help you. It's not going to advance you along in your own story. It's not going to help you heal what you need to heal. It's not going to help you experience what you need to experience. Yeah. So, and I'm telling you, this sounds simple, but I'm telling you, especially because of social media. How many people are on social media here? Most everybody in the room. So you've got to just start monitoring yourself. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is like, be your own divine observer. Start watching yourself. Pay attention to what you're doing with your thoughts, with your feelings, your reactions. Like, start observing yourself and see what adjustments that you can make. Okay? So, number 4. Okay. Listening to yourself. So we kind of talked about this one already, but to dig a little deeper. So this is, again, as I mentioned before, about thinking. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? And listening to that and really heeding that, and that might put you in a different direction than your brain wants to go. But first of all, I think people have a hard time even feeling what they're feeling because we walk around emotionally constipated, right? So think about that. You know, our society, and especially for the male persons in the society, we don't allow ourselves to feel our feelings. You know, everything's got to like be, you know, made a joke of, or be sarcastic, or repress it, or forget about it, brush it over. No, we have feelings for a reason. So we have to honor them. We have to honor the feelings. So, you guys know the work of Brene Brown. So Brene Brown. So she, you know, so we all have, you know, pains and issues and things, and so who wants to deal with pain? No one wants to deal with pain, right? And so we have all our addictions and distractions. So whether it's, you know, being on the phone or eating too much or drinking too much or, you know, worse things with drugs, or being a workaholic or, you know, being at the gym too much when it's over. So what are the things that you're doing that are distracting you and where you are avoiding feeling your feelings? So, everything okay? I don't know if
Oh, yeah, that's my mom.
Oh, oh boy. That's very brave. Okay, so So, wow, okay, that might be a first. So, right, so what is it that you're doing to avoid feeling your feelings? And this is like a really, like a truth-telling moment for yourself. What are you doing to avoid feeling your feelings? It's really important that you stop doing that, you pay attention. No, and look, you might not be able to change right overnight, but at least start to be aware of, when I'm going for the pasta, I'm not really hungry, but it's comforting to me to eat my pasta, So I'm definitely an emotional eater. So what is it that you do to sort of self-soothe or distract yourself from feeling your feelings? Maybe you'll put the TV on, maybe you'll play video games, maybe you'll, start texting someone. Try to catch yourself when you do that, and instead try to be like, okay, what am I feeling right now that I'm trying to avoid? And then let yourself feel the feeling. And so that's not really fun, but I'm telling you, it's worth it, right? So whether it's anger or shame or sadness, these are like things that we want to, that as humans we like to avoid like the plague, but they are part of who we are as humans, and you need to, they're valid feelings, so you need to process them. Because if you don't process them, if you don't allow the feeling to be expressed in a reasonable way, okay, in an appropriate way, in appropriate time, as much as you can, it's gonna harm you in some other way. So if you don't express the anger or the sadness or the grief or the shame, it's gonna get stuck in your body somewhere. You're gonna lash out at different people for different reasons that they're gonna be confused, like why are you lashing out? Because it's really because this other thing. It can affect your physical body. If you don't deal with these feelings and emotions, it will affect your physical body. So you've got to allow them to be processed, and also their information. So they give you information. And so, I also talk a lot about the right brain and the left brain. And so, the left brain is the very analytical, A to B to C, logic. Right brain is intuitive, emotional, creative, different, the feeling consciousness. So, if someone had a stroke and they lost the ability in the left side of their brain, if they lost the ability in the right side of their brain, they only had functionality in the left side of the brain, they would never be able to make a decision. Because you'd be in analysis paralysis. Okay? You need emotion, energy and motion to make a decision, right? To give you that impetus to get you out. Because you can analysis, you can go make a case for anything and go over and over and over and over. So you want to tap into the emotion of the situation here. And this is the other thing. I like to say your heart and your gut, this is the powerhouse. Like this is where you should give all the weight and attention and credence to. This is really your brain. And then this executes whatever this decides is the right thing for you. And our culture is the exact opposite. Our culture is like left brain, left brain, left brain, everything intellectual, everything logical. If you can't explain it with logic, forget about feelings. Feelings are, they don't count. Forget, and then you can go into the whole, you can think about it as like masculine and feminine, and art and science and spirituality and intellectual, whatever. So, but guess what? We need both, right? We have two hemispheres. Why do we have two hemispheres if one's not supposed to be used? Well, what would be the point of that? So, like in Eastern cultures, the yin yang, right? So everything's balanced, right? We need both. We can't have too much of one. If we were only right brain, we'd be floating around and getting nothing done and have no building to sit in, and nothing would function. So that's not good either. But we're such a left brain heavy society. So I'm always trying to get people and working with people just happen to their right brain, into their body, into their feelings, into their emotions, and then you integrate that with the left brain. You integrate that with thought and reason and logic. But we gotta work on this, and so the way that you work on this is spending that time, those anchors that I mentioned, spending the quality time with yourself. If you can do some yoga, that would be great. You know, if you can, you know, if you cook, you know, be very present and mindful, any kind of mindfulness exercise, any kind of art or creative expression, any kind of dance, movement is also really good to get you into your body. And also it's really like retraining yourself, like I've been saying all evening, about start to observe yourself. Observe yourself. Are you making decisions just from your mind, or are you making it from your gut, or it's like you feel something strongly in your gut, but your mind overrules it? And then what happened? And think about all the times where your mind overruled your gut, and what was the outcome? And then conversely, when did you like, I just have this feeling, I just want to kind of like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I feel like I want to do it. Even though your brain has no idea why you want to do this thing, or show up at this place, or whatever it is, and there's usually a reason, there's usually an outcome that you're like, oh, that's why I was here. But you didn't, our little pea brains can't figure everything out. There's infinite possibilities of infinite scenarios out there. And so let this be your guidance. So let this work, and often, in my next book, I forgot to do a little commercial here. So I have a book here where I write these personal growth essays, and so, and again, this came very organically. I'm dyslexic, I don't read, I'm terrible at grammar, my syntax and vocabulary is quite limited, but I have something to say, and I'm passionate about what I have to say, and so 10 years ago, 10 years in January, so 9.5 years ago, I, started writing these essays because I was like, oh, I need a newsletter, and so I just kind of, with my gut, because my brain's like, you're not a writer, you can't write, you don't read, why would you be a writer? You don't like words, like, but I had something to say, and I was like, all right. And I just started writing, and I got such positive feedback from people, it was really bizarre. And I share the story sometimes, where after a couple of months, and then I started to discipline myself, and so I write one every week. I'd send it every week, and it would take me forever to do, because again, I'm terrible at grammar and all that stuff. And like 4 months, after doing it, I was at a big event, room of people, 100 people, God bless you, sitting in the back, and we had to do this little exercise where you introduce yourself, and I said, oh, hi, I'm Kristina, and the girl looks at me, she goes, Leonardi? And I was like, yes. She goes, I get your email. She goes, they really help me. And I was like, oh, okay. Again, this was not a plan. It wasn't like I set out, like, I am going to write essays every week, and I'm going to say this, that, and the other thing. It was just a feeling I had. I went with it. And 5 years, 131 essays later, there's a published book. And I still write new ones every now and then. That's what you get every week, and I recycle them. But anyway, so to bring you back to this, is my next book.
So you're going to bring that on the next time?
When it's written and published, yes.
No, the next time you come, you're going to bring that?
I'm working on it. I'm working on the second book. So my second book is a lot about really listening to yourself and what you need at any moment. It's called the Smoothie Principle, and the reason why it's called the Smoothie Principle is because I had started a nonprofit organization, and I was a little busy and crazy and needed money, was kind of isolated, and I said, when I really sat with myself, I said, I need money. I mean, I need social interaction, but it's hard to have social interaction in New York City without having some money. And so, I thought, well, maybe I'll get a part-time job. And I didn't know what that part-time job would be. And to make a long story short, I just followed hunches, a dream, a hunch, clues, because I was like, I couldn't figure out what that thing was. And I ended up making smoothies at an upscale fitness club. and I ended up there a year and a half. They donated, so not only did it, and I had very specific criteria for what that job would be. It had to be flexible schedule, it had to be a beautiful environment. What was the third thing? There's three things. Oh my God, I'm blanking out. All right, I'll tell you when I remember. But there's very specific criteria. It was that and so much more. So my whole point of this story is that when you listen to yourself and just, if you can't figure it out, just follow the hunches, just go with it. That job, besides giving me exactly what I needed at that time, which was social interaction and money, I have friends from that job that I still have. They donated membership and events. We did an event there from the nonprofit organization that I was running. My very first corporate speaking gig was there, and then I got another one when she moved to a different place. My very first coaching client was from there. All because I was like, I just need a little social interaction with somebody. And I didn't try to figure out what that was going to be. I just kind of like listened and paid attention to whatever clues I was getting. So it's a great story. I didn't really do it justice here, but you know, you'll be on my email list and you'll get lots of emails about it at some point. But anyway, the whole point is that's always going to be right for you. That's my point. It's always going to be right for you. So, so make sure that you are clear with yourself as much as you can, mentally and emotionally, right? So that you can make the decisions that are best for you. Okay. So, you know, all right, so that seems like, yeah, of course, yada, yada, yada. But it's really important, especially nowadays, okay? Be kind and compassionate. There's a great quote, it says, be kind, everyone you know is fighting a battle. You don't know what someone is dealing with at any particular moment, and just a word of kindness, a gesture of kindness could make all the difference to that person. And that's talking about a stranger, but you know, just in any situation to choose kindness, to choose being compassionate, and the thing is, it's really hard to do this if you haven't done it for yourself, right? If you haven't sort of cleared your emotions so that you can feel what it feels like to be compassionate, to have empathy for someone. If you're all blocked up, you're not going to sense people might need a little extra TLC, right? Because you're just sort of blocked up. So this is what really helps you connect with people on a deeper level. And that's really all that we're craving, is connection, right? Especially nowadays. Loneliness is becoming an epidemic. We're more isolated than ever, and we're more connected than ever at the same time. And we're kind of losing our humanity. And so to really take that initiative to lead with that, to lead with kindness, to lead with compassion, to be empathetic, to be sensitive to someone, to understand where another person is coming from. If someone's freaking out or lashing out at you, like, is it really because of you? Like, if you can, again, be this observer person and be like, what is this really about? And try to kind of understand maybe what that person's going through and not take it personally so that you don't react, right? Yeah. And, yeah, and again, this is what's going to just make you a better communicator, right? And communication is really the key to everything. So being an active listener means you can be present in your body, and you can be present in your body because you've done all of these things. And then you can be present for someone and really listen to them on a deeper level and connect with them and respond to them in a way that's productive and healthy and generous. Yeah, and even like in work situations, I mean, you know, some some of the startups, some of the new cultures are kind of getting this, you know, and they're understanding that treating your employees like people and full humans is actually a better way to go, and to get more productivity, loyalty, retention. So this is a whole big area, and I was just at a panel discussion last night, and one of the HR people there is, you know, she's like, I came up with the saying, kindness over KPI. So, you know, KPIs, key performance indicators, I guess, or people over profit, right? At the end of the day, it's about your people. It's about kindness. It's like that's what's going to ultimately get you the productivity and the ROI. Lots of companies can use this lesson. You know, this is my big thing. You know, if we can all get that revolution going, that would be fantastic. You know, it's a win-win. Like, where can you create a win-win situation? Where can you create understanding? Remember I said before, where can you be a peacemaker, not a troublemaker? Right? Where can you take responsibility and choose kindness and compassion over rejection and hate or assumptions about someone? Can you try to take a minute to try to understand? Or at least, you know, take a breath, you know, and try to imagine what that person might be struggling with, and they're lashing out for a reason that has nothing to do with you. I feel like this is such basic stuff, right? But I feel like we've strayed so far, right? Are you guys feeling that? I feel like it's like, why are we even talking about this? It just seems so common sense, but God, we need to remember, right? We need like all of you guys in here have to be ambassadors of this stuff. Like, we have to reinfuse society, right? So, okay, so 6. Go with the I use this expression a lot. It makes life so much easier. Right? When you're super rigid and super structured, that means you have more opportunities to get more stressed out and more frustrated, okay? We can't control everything. We just can't. And so again, it's trying to find that balance of the effort that you put forth and the direction or the desire, the intention that you want, and then releasing it and kind of okay, and then let something greater than me decide really what's the best outcome here. Right? And so, do you guys know the expression Wu Wei? It's again, a Taoist expression. Kind of hard to define exactly, so you can Google it, but it's basically, you know, it's also about sort of the art, it's like doing nothing, basically, is Wu Wei. And in the doing nothing and the not forcing things, you're actually activating things. Does that make sense? It's hard to translate exactly, but to understand that there is an ebb and a flow to things, right? There's effort, and then there's relaxation. There's assertion and receptivity. There's you know, I feel like, you know, then there's a season, turn, right? There's you know, but there is. So there's cycles to things. And so, you know, you have to, again, it's the whole yin-yang, right? Of you can exert a lot of effort. Maybe you go through a period where you're pounding the pavement, or you're working on a project and you're working really hard, and then you take a break. And then you let yourself fill up again, and rest and recuperation. Really, really important. I think that might be one of my other stepping stones. But, you know, really understand that it doesn't have to be go, 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 go. Right? There's an ebb and a flow. And again, things happen, things change. Go with the flow. Maybe that change, maybe that left turn, so the right turn is going to lead you to a better place. Trust that. Trust that. Don't freak out. Again, this is about taking responsibility for your response to things. You could freak out, you could get frustrated, you could get stressed out, or you could be like, I'm just gonna go with the flow. Doesn't that feel much better? Okay, so this is a way you can create much more ease with yourself. Much more ease. Be flexible. You know, and also just in your own life and as you go through your own days or your job search, you know, what works for you? What's your flow? So maybe you're an early morning person, so that's when you can do a lot of like mental activity, or that's when you can do a lot of external activity, and maybe you crash in the afternoon. So fine, so schedule activities and things that work with your flow, right? Or maybe vice versa, like I'm a night owl, so I'm much more alert, I can get a lot more done at night, I'm very slow in the morning. So I try to schedule things that make sense for me. Again, this goes back, take responsibility, know yourself, stay in your own lane. Just because I know Mayor de Blasio gets a lot of crap from everybody, but he is a night owl and he's really tall, and so I do have those two things in common with him. So I told him that once, it was funny. But yeah, he's got it. Anyway, so yeah, so again, like go with the, so like create as much ease for yourself. Create the ease for yourself as much as you can. And there's a quote from this an astrologer that I know. He says, "People who value order and organization rarely get to feel the pleasure of their deeper mind." That's a good quote. People who value order and organization rarely get to feel the pleasure of their deeper mind. In other words, someone that's got to always have, you know, who never met an Excel spreadsheet that they didn't like, right? Those kind of people who are super lists and Excels and da-da-da-da-da, and everything's that way. It's like, well, where's the right brain stuff, right? We need both. Where's the creativity? Where's the opportunity for inspiration? Where's the serendipity, right? And you know, and so those are some daily kind of cycle things, but then you can also be in bigger cycles. You know, you can be in a cycle of more sort of cocooning, you know, where you're sort of developing yourself internal and you're not doing a lot of socializing or external activity, and that's okay. And that might be 6 months, it might be a year, it might be 2 years. Okay, that's just the cycle you're in. Don't feel bad about it. Again, there's balances to things. If you're slipping into like a depression and being antisocial, like that's not good. But like, trust your body. Trust, because again, if you've done all of these things, then you are your own instrument. And so just trust it, listen to it. And know that, okay, if I need to rest right now, I guess I need to rest. And it's really hard for people to rest, I'm telling you. It's the one thing that we have a hard time doing. Or if, you know, again, if you're in a cycle of just, you need to be by yourself, trust that. There's a reason for it. Nothing wrong with that. Yes. So wait, effortless non-doing. Effortless non-doing is the way. Okay. 7. Your past. Ooh, that's a good one. So, what patterns are you repeating? Right? So Einstein, what did Einstein say? Right? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Right? So where are your patterns? What can you learn? What mistakes do you keep making, you know, are you keep making over and over and over again? This can be a little painful, but you know, we gotta do this. So let's take responsibility. Take responsibility. Where were your blind spots? Where did you keep making a mistake? Guess what? You've got the power to change. That's empowering. That's a positive thing.
I think you should let go of your past.
Like, and that's it too.
You can't drive your car looking at
Your rear view window. That's right.
your rear mirror.
That's right.
That's why your windshield is so big.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. So, right. So you want to learn, you know, look at your past, learn from the past, and then let it go. and then let it go. We bring so much baggage with us, and again, this is hard.
And it weighs you down,
It weighs you down, it weighs you down. So, you know, again, easier said than done, because, you know, we have heavy things sometimes that we're dealing with, or that, you know, we can't forgive ourselves for, or forgive other people, but forgiveness is one of the biggest things that you can do, again, for yourself or for someone else, mostly for yourself, because we tend to be our own worst enemies and really hard on ourselves. So you can do an exercise, a forgiveness exercise, which I recommend to my clients often, which is you write it down, you write I and your name, so I, Kristina, forgive myself for, and whatever comes up. And you just, like, whatever comes up. And this is a great way to do an emotional detox. Remember I said if you're like emotionally constipated, good way to do an emotional detox. So whatever comes up, feel the feelings. Feel the feelings. Let them come out. Good detox. Feel the feelings, and then you let it go. So forgiveness is about letting go. Okay? And if you can't be compassionate with yourself, it's going to be really hard to be compassionate.
No, you gotta be compassionate with yourself.
Exactly.
Forget about everybody else. You take a dollar bill, you fold it in half, who's gonna give you?
That's right. So fill your own cup first.
That's right.
Love yourself first, and then that love and compassion can overflow. So again, and you know, especially when, you know, you guys are job search, you know, a lot of you are in transition, you know, what are the mistakes? What are the patterns? What do you need to learn from those past situations so that you don't make them again, okay? So that you don't make them again. Yeah, and it's, you know, again, this also means like being mature. I don't think we have a lot of examples of maturity in our society, which has nothing to do with age, right? So be mature. This is all about maturation, in my opinion. Okay, so 8. I feel like so many people have a hard time with this. Like, especially because we're in like New York City and it's like go, 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 go. So in terms, you know, between New York City energy and just, you know, again, the barrage of information that we have constantly at our fingertips, it's like we're always on, right? We're always on, we're always buzzing, we're always going, we're like, I have to be productive, right? What's productive? So you think you gotta cross off whatever on your list. Guess what? Rest is productive. The appropriate time, the appropriate place, rest can be one of the most productive things that you can do. Take your vacation, take your days off, take a nap. I give you permission to take a nap, okay? You're allowed. If your body says, I need a nap, take a nap. Recover. You need rest and recovery so that then you can come back to your life, to your activity, to your job, whatever it is you're doing with renewed energy and enthusiasm and passion and clarity, right? So you've got to rest. Sometimes, if I've been through a busy period, I will stay in bed for an entire day. That's like sacrilege for people. I'm not sick, I'm not depressed, not even like sleepy tired, but like just like my whole body, like just my whole energy needs to just rest, right? Just rest, just do a refresh, just do a pause, just not think about anything. Just, you know, sometimes I'll have the TV on, sometimes I won't. It's just rest. Rest is very different. Relax is one thing, so you want to do things that are relaxing to you. But rest, I think, is quite specific. It's really stopping all activity, mental, emotional, and physical activity. Just rest. And that's also, as you know, has been proven by science. That's when the idea comes, the inspiration comes, the problem that you're thinking about gets solved. Like, this is... Again, remember I was saying before, there's go, 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 there's no room. There's no room for anything else to come in. So you really have to take that time to rest. And obviously it helps you physically. It's going to help your immune system. It's going to help your mental processing. And the same thing with fun, like genuine, just silly fun. And fun doesn't have to be some elaborate thing. It can just be watching some comedy that you like. It could be playing with little kids and being silly with them. right? It could just be doing anything that's mindless and like doesn't serve any purpose other than pure enjoyment. And like again, what's fun for someone might not be fun for the other person, right? So you have to know what's fun for you. You know, I hate games and board games and card games, but I have friends that like love to do their bridge nights and you know, or go biking for 25 miles. Like, that's not fun for me. That's not relaxing for me, but for other people, it is, right? So you got to know what's right for you and allow yourself to do it. So for me, it's dancing. It's fun. It's relaxing. It's a lot of things for me. So if I don't dance, I get a little crazy. So make sure whatever the thing that makes you feel good and relaxed and is fun for you, that you're doing it. And even if you're not working and you're in job transition, I give you permission to have fun. I give you permission. Don't punish yourself just because you're in between jobs. You want to make sure that you're filling yourself up so that when the opportunity does come, you're going to be like not a doormat of a candidate. You're going to actually have some life to you, right? You're going to feel good. You're going to have energy because you've been taking care of yourself and having fun and being balanced about your life. You're not just going to be like 8 hours a day, like, I need a job, right? So make sure you're doing that. It'll give you more energy, da 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 da. Okay, I'm on time, yay. Okay, so 9. Who wants to guess what 9 might be? What did I leave out? There's kind of an obvious one I think that I've left out.
Keep up.
No. How about gratitude? Do you guys have like a gratitude journal? Anybody do gratitude practice? Be grateful. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. So wherever you can, as much as you can, be grateful. Be grateful for the house, you know, the roof over your head. Be grateful for I do a little like, it's like a 2-second ritual every time I eat. It's like, just give thanks. Like, thanks for the, you know, the farmers that grew the vegetables. And this is all in one thought, by the way. So I'm just sort of, you know, the farmers that grew the vegetables, the fact that they came, you know, to the city, that I was able to buy it, that I was able to make this food and made it really delicious, and then I'm nourishing myself and all the nutrients that it's giving me. Like in that one thought, you could be grateful. Do you understand? But it's like taking a moment to be grateful. Whatever your situation is, be grateful for it. You know, the people in your life. I have a PGG, I call my essays PGGs, called Thank the Turkeys Too. So even the people that are a pain in your butt, okay, there's a reason why they're in your life. Figure out what that reason is and be grateful for it. Be grateful. So, you know, there's lots of different practices. People do a gratitude journal, so every night, you know, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. Just as you go through, I just kind of do it as I go through my day. If something happens, I just say thank you, thank you for that, thank you for this, thank you for that. Because remember, what you focus on grows. Where you put your attention is what gets magnified. So if you're constantly lamenting and mulling over everything that's wrong in your life and how bad it is and how horrible this one is or that thing is, like that's what's going to grow. So if you focus on, or if you see things in a different way, and you think, oh, but oh, isn't this beautiful? Yeah, this is great. Or I'm so grateful for this person, or I'm grateful that it was sunny out today. I'm grateful that I could walk today. Like, if you really have to go there, I'm grateful that I took a breath today. I'm grateful that my heart is beating today. Like, that's kind of a miracle. Like when you really think about it, it's like, what the heck is keeping you alive right now? You can get really, buggy about it. You have a heartbeat and you have breath. It's no small thing. So yeah, and then just also always, like I'm sort of an eternal optimist, so it's about seeing the glass half full and trying to find the positive, optimistic silver lining to whatever the situation. Again, it's taking responsibility and controlling the amount of suffering or the amount of ease in your life. You have that power. You have that power. You can't blame it on anyone else. So yeah, so I mean, so these are my 9 stepping stones for success. And again, nothing new, no eurekas, but maybe you haven't thought about this stuff in a while, or you haven't, it's a reminder that you have more control over your destiny than you think you do. You have more control over your well-being and your happiness than you think you do. You have more control over your career and your lifestyle than you think you do. And that's really what I want you to take away, and to go back and remember, whatever, maybe you want to think about which one of these steps do you need to really work on. So maybe pick like your top 3 or something. Because it could be a little overwhelming if you're feeling a little like, So maybe pick 1 or 2 or 3 that you really want to focus on. And then you can come back to the other ones. And then just to end before I start passing these out. So I have a great quote also by Warren Buffett, who I think many people would consider him successful, right? A little bit more. And he says, basically, when you get to my age, you'll really measure your success in life by how many of the people you want to have loved, by how many of the people you want to have loved you actually do love you. That's the ultimate test of how you have lived your life. The trouble with love is that you can't buy it. But the only way to get love is to be lovable. The more you give love away, the more you get. That's from Warren Buffett. So, I hope that I've inspired you to be a little bit more loving to yourself and to make your life a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more easeful. And so, before we have a little bubble in here for the past hour and a half, I know you can go back out into reality, and so I always like to give you guys something to take home with you to remember whatever's like the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you might really need to remember, so that like when you go out here and you see this little thing, you're like, oh yeah, I just remember that. Okay? So you can take your little stones here, stepping stones, and I'll be back here. Oh, well, right. And so if you guys want to work with me as a coach, so I can help you figure out who you are, what you're supposed to be doing with your life. If you're in a job search, I can help you get unstuck. So that's my specialty, is like where people are stuck and getting you unstuck. So I have group coaching once a month usually. So the next one is actually next Tuesday. You have to RSVP for that. You should have information about working with me one-on-one in a more deeper, longer process. But I also have, so August 17th is my 12th anniversary as a professional coach. So every August now I offer super special deals. So since it's 12, it's $120 for an hour phone session, which is almost half price of what I usually offer. So it's just for August only. So you can sign up here. Make sure you're on my mailing list if you didn't do that. I have some articles that I've written or have been written about me over here. I have books. You can get a book here for $20. It's also in the library system or on Amazon. Do social media and have a lovely evening. I wish you well. I'll be back here September 18th. And thank you again for coming, for your attention. I wish you well.